nothing is as wild as what's going on in good old Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss, I don't know what to believe, because we've talked about this ad nauseum for some time now, about Lane Kiffin, LSU, Florida, the idea that it is somehow surprising to Ole Miss that Lane Kiffin is taking job interviews, or somehow that he's being a villain or irresponsible, or he is not doing his job as the head football coach at Ole Miss because he is taking interviews at LSU, allegedly flying his family down there on the LSU jet yesterday, having a tour of the campus, having a tour of Baton Rouge. Now, all of a sudden, Lane Kiffin's being irresponsible, which I say is complete ridiculousness. Lane Kiffin, in my opinion, has not put a foot wrong in this entire process. He's not talking about it with the media. He's not really addressing it in questions. We've heard Lane Kiffin repeatedly and consistently deflect questions about Ole Miss and other jobs.
People used to say, okay, when people wanted to hire you or something and interview, and what questions do you have? What are your concerns? Okay. People used to say, facilities, how many practice fields, those things. And I said, I don't think, I think that's changed. It's going to change. And it's going to be, how much NIL do you have?
Right? So he's not saying, well, I don't have enough NIL, I am leaving. He's not saying that. Even when the media, and I understand why the media is doing this, but even when the media brings up Florida, I think Lane has handled it very well.
Set aside the Kiffin to Florida talk, and do you let your representatives kind of handle all those machinations kind of going on? And what's kind of, I guess, your message to, Ole Miss fans? I mean, talking to some of them before the game, a lot of them are just like, we just kind of want some clarity here.
Okay. I feel like you're a Florida guy. I don't think we were distracted. 538 yards today for an offense seems pretty focused. So we've been dealing with what people would say been a distraction for weeks now, including that.
See, I think he's handled whatever machinations are. I'm not really sure if we're talking about cookies or whatever. I think Lane Kiffin has handled this well. And all of the jackwagons who say that, oh, this is his fault and they should put the hammer down on. How is this at all in any way Lane Kiffin's fault? That's what I don't understand, because my question is, what would you have him do different? What has he done inappropriately? What has he done to bring undue attention to himself, other than put up 538 yards, other than win games, other than virtually guarantee Ole Miss a spot in the college football playoff? And for that, we're hearing, all these idiots saying, oh, well, he shouldn't be allowed to coach the Egg Bowl. Okay, good luck with that. And I would ask you, if you don't allow Lane Kiffin to coach the Egg Bowl, what do you think the net effect of that will be? What is the positive? If I am a recruit talking to Lane Kiffin and I am being recruited and I am watching the Egg Bowl and I see that Lane Kiffin isn't allowed to coach in that game, does that make Ole Miss more or less desirable for me as a college football player? Well, of course it makes him less desirable. Of course it does. And all you're doing is trying to limit his ability to make more money, create opportunity for himself and his family, which is what every recruit is trying to do. I think Ole Miss, the only thing Ole Miss should do is shut up and let Lane go through the process and then react when he takes a different job, because he's gonna. That's what I think Ole Miss should do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the all the speculation about him not doing right, or him whatever people want to say, like, people freaked out because there was video of the private jet and his family, and everyone was like, oh, like, he shouldn't be doing that in the middle of the season. And it's like, well, when would you like him to do it? Would you like him to do it, after the season? Would you like him to wait months to figure out this process? Like, I just don't think that that's realistic. So, I don't think Lane's done anything wrong. And I think that this is the suffering from success portion of life. If you're Lane Kiffin, you've done such a good job that lots of people want you, and now you just have to kind of deal with that, and so I think, if you're Lane Kiffin, you're going to continue to say that Ole Miss is great and everything's awesome, because it is. But at the same time, you're going to continue to, try to get as much money as you can. And listen, if that result is Ole Miss matching whatever offer you were to get out on the market, that's also something to consider if you're Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's not, it doesn't have to be guaranteed that he leaves, but I just think that we all kind of agree that, Florida and LSU, I guess, are really great opportunities to have on your resume. And if you skip those and stay at Ole Miss, there's some risk in that, just like there is leaving Ole Miss to go to Florida and LSU. So again, it comes down to, what does he want? That's going to be the thing, because, like today when it came out that you were doing yoga with your AD, I believe it was, that kind of discredits all the Ole Miss is pissed at Lane Kiffin stuff. Like, I just don't think that that's the relationship at this time.
Yeah, I think it is. This is really, really a mistake by Ole Miss. I think, personally, I do not believe they put a timeline on him. I don't. And Lane, I would say, went on the Pat McAfee show today and did an interview, but it wasn't an interview. It was one of the most embarrassing segments I've ever seen on ESPN, frankly. And they've had ESPN's had a lot of missteps with guests. Today, this might have been the most embarrassing guest situation that I have seen in some time on ESPN, with Lane Kiffin's interview on, and I say interview very loosely, his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. But here's what Lane had to say about the ultimatum.
There's a rumor now circulating on the internet, and we appreciate you joining us here to maybe kind of clarify this. Was there like an ultimatum given to you in the middle of a season from Ole Miss? It feels like the way I'm reading it on the internet is that Ole Miss has told you, and you were doing yoga, I guess, this morning with the AD. Ole Miss has told you, like, we need an answer. Is that true? And how are you handling it all with the team with what's currently taking place?
Yeah, that's absolutely not true. There's been no ultimatum, anything like that at all. And so I don't know where that came from, like a lot of stuff that comes out there. Like I said, man, we're having a blast. I love it here. I mean, our running back's sitting right over here. Come on over. And it just couldn't be better. Like I said, you pray for things. Our fans prayed for this type of thing, and now we're in the middle of it. So enjoy it. You're 10-1, you're getting ready, you got a bye week, you get to watch half the country lose, and there's no way we can lose Saturday. And then you play the Egg Bowl and go dominate that and keep that Egg Bowl trophy home where it's been for a long time.
No follow-up question. No, not that was it. That was all the football talk. That was the entirety of it. Nothing about LSU. Nothing about Florida. The biggest guy in sports right now, the single biggest name in all of football, Lane Kiffin. Nothing about LSU. Nothing about Florida. No follow-up question. None of it. They quite literally had him on because Lane Kiffin said, hey, I need a favor. I need you to ask me about the ultimatum. No follow-up question. Again, I'm just going to say, I think this continues to be just a ridiculous. You had the biggest name in sports on your show today, and you did not ask him a single meaningful question. Nothing, not a single meaningful question, because the one you did ask him, you wasted it. And then you allowed him to bring a football player over, and you asked the football player 2 questions, and then Lane was like, all right, got to go now. I have no idea what they were doing with Lane Kiffin on their show today.
Yeah, I mean, not prepared, no plan. Again, I think today is the perfect embodiment of what I always complain about. There was no plan. There was no like, yeah, we need to make sure that we get all this stuff out of him. We need to make sure that we give him the opportunity to to say something, because that's all you can do, right? I mean, all you're doing is giving people an opportunity to say something or whatever, to act on the question. So by not asking the question, I mean, I just don't know what the goal is. Like you're doing a sports talk show and Lane Kiffin's on your sports talk show in the middle of one of the most high profile coaching searches out there in college football, and you don't ask him what he thought of Baton Rouge. You don't ask him, well, hey, how do you see these opportunities stack up, Lane? I mean, do you 2 weeks ago you talked about what a good job is. What do you think of these? Anything. But there's nothing. Instead we get Buddy the secondary voice, asking a question. We get football player guys stepping. Like, I get it, dude. We got to promote their players, but at some point it just, you have to be better. And this is why I say it's not really a sports talk show. I'm tired of hearing about, McAfee and this amazing sports talk show. All it is a bunch of dudes sitting around, meeting in one place, shooting the shit, doing whatever they want to do. That's it. And they happen to get the biggest names in sports because dude kicked a football for 8 years, and that's about it. So, God forbid we would ever get Lane Kiffin. God forbid anybody else would ever get Lane Kiffin. No, Pat McAfee's so I'm just not surprised. Like, we were texting about it. Like, I'm not saying you were surprised, but I feel like sometimes people are surprised.
I am surprised they did not ask him about LSU. How do you have him on when Lane Kiffin's family was photographed in Baton Rouge? The jet was quite literally sitting on the tarmac in fucking Oxford, and you don't even ask him a single question related to a job search. You had him on because he asked you allegedly to do him a favor and allow him to deny the ultimatum. And then you don't even follow up on the ultimatum question. Like, I have no idea. It was so frustrating. It was so incredibly frustrating. And I think it's just, it is what it is. My guess is that Lane Kiffin's negotiating. It's not a guess. We know Lane Kiffin's negotiating with LSU. He is the by far best available coach in college football at the moment. LSU certainly is a bigger job than Ole Miss. Florida is certainly a bigger job than Ole Miss. And Lane is certainly an upgrade to anything either of those schools have had in recent memory. He's going to take a job. But it is remarkable to me that somehow Lane Kiffin's become a villain in all of this. And I just ask all of the talking heads, and Josh Pate saying that Ole Miss should, essentially Josh Pate saying Ole Miss should punish Lane Kiffin and not allow him to coach the Egg Bowl. Punish him for what? What has Lane Kiffin done wrong here? What has he done wrong here? And this is what I really struggle with. What is it that you think Lane Kiffin should be doing different than he is doing now? I've played you clips of him not talking about LSU, not talking about Florida, not talking about anything but winning the Egg Bowl and bringing the Egg Bowl trophy back to keeping it where it belongs and saying all the right things, promoting his players. What is it that Lane Kiffin has done wrong? Because I don't get how he's all of a sudden just some big villain. I don't understand it. I have always been a fan of Lane Kiffin's. I think, has he done was his time on Rocky Top any good? It wasn't. Was he a good football coach at USC? He was not. Has he always been a good coach at Ole Miss? No, he hasn't. But what I can tell you is he has evolved and grown and matured and cleaned himself up. And now he is inarguably the number one candidate in college football. And he's earned the right to go and see what his value is on the open market. Yet, we're trying to put him into this box where he's a bad guy and he's doing something wrong. And I just don't understand it. I truly do not understand it.
Yeah, I just don't know what other people want him to do.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know what people want him to do or want from Lane Kiffin. I don't know what, like the Josh Pate clip that you had tweeted about. Why are we out to get Lane Kiffin? Like, why?
I have no idea.
I would love to hear, and this is not unique to Josh. I think Josh does a pretty good job generally, but like this.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a fan of Josh Bates.
Yeah, I've seen this around. This concept of, well, they, ultimatum, he shouldn't be able to coach the Egg Bowl unless like
he commits to Ole Miss or he shouldn't coach the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, like I don't. Why? If you're Ole Miss, why would you not want him coaching games for you, bro? Like, why would you not?
Are you better off with somebody else coaching Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl and in the college football playoff than you are? If Lane Kiffin says, I'm going to take the LSU job, but I want to coach this team in the Egg Bowl and in the college football playoff, and you say no, did you hurt the team or did you help the team?
You hurt the team.
Did you do what's best for Ole Miss or did you do what's best for your own ego? Having Lane Kiffin coach your team, even though he's not going to be your coach next year, if he said that to you, you cannot possibly say no. Now, my guess is if he took the job at LSU, he would be gone immediately. That's awfully difficult to do that. But I just think all this heresy is what it is. This heresy being directed at Lane Kiffin is ridiculous. It is uncalled for. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I just don't know. I have no idea. In all honesty, I have no idea if you are an Ole Miss fan. Lane, like one of the things I've heard on my TikTok in the comment section is, well, he's going to take all our players if you let him coach the Egg Bowl. Well, fuck, bro. You think he's not going to take your players if you don't? Do you really think that him coaching your team in the Egg Bowl is going to keep players either there or not there? If you're at Ole Miss for Lane Kiffin, you're going to be at LSU for Lane Kiffin if he wants you. Hello? Would you rather win the national championship or not? Because the only way this team competes for a national championship is if Lane Kiffin's the head coach.
Yes.
That's it. It's his offense. It's his system with his guys. He sat on that show today, and as awkward and as weird as it was, and he promoted his running back. He literally sat up there. He knew he was going to talk to Pat McAfee, and he had his running. This is the second week in a row he's done this, where he's brought one of his players onto the interview. Bro, this is the guy you want coaching your team. It sucks he's leaving Ole Miss if he leaves. It sucks that he's leaving. But you can't be mad at the guy. He's brought you to heights you've never realized in the modern era of college football. And I would also remind you, this is the system all of you have been asking for. And now you got it, and you don't like it because he's leaving Oxford. Well, that's not the way the game is played. That's not the way the earth orbits the sun. I got bad news for you. That's just not the way this shit works. Right? Like it is, in my mind, this is the system everybody asks for. You just never think about the consequences of your request.
Yep. Now you're pissed that he's going to leave for a higher profile job, and you don't want that to happen. To which I say, okay, if you don't want that to happen, then get your checkbook out. You don't want that to happen, pay the dude, right? Like, cough it up, because that's what this is. It is simply a money thing. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I would love Lane Kiffin to be the head coach at the beloved Notre Dame. It's never going to happen. I get idiot guy who can't count past 10. But I think Lane Kiffin's going to LSU. That's my opinion. I look at some of the storylines around this. I don't believe that Ole Miss went to Lane Kiffin and said, "Look, you son of a biscuit, you're going to give us an answer." I don't believe that's what they did. I don't believe that. Do I think that Keith Carter said to him, "Lane, bro, I wish you the very best. And if this LSU job happens, here's all I'm asking. If you could take the job before the Egg Bowl so that we can move on, that would be best case." Because I understand it. It would be really difficult, in my opinion, because by the time the Egg Bowl gets here, in 10, 14 days or something, right? When the Egg Bowl gets here, the hype around Lane Kiffin, if he's not already named the coach at LSU, it is going to be thick, like the odor wafting out of your crotch. Like it is going to be rough, bro. That was probably too you probably taste that. But my point is, I think if it drags on that far, it's drug on too far. Mm-hmm. And I agree that you need some kind of closure. But if Lane Kiffin says, "Yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet," the week of the Egg Bowl, the Monday before the Egg Bowl, hey Lane, got to have an answer here, bro. Yeah, I'd love to give you that answer, but I haven't made up my mind yet. Okay, you can't coach this week. Pack your stuff. That's what you're going to do. That's what you're thinking. That's in 10 days. We're out of here. In 10 days from right now, when they play the Egg Bowl, you think you're going to, nope, Lane, nope, cut off his key card. Get this guy out, get this bum out of here. That's what you think you're going to do.
And that's what you're advocating for. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Advocates.com advocating. You're not. You're not. You're not. So how would you handle this if you were Ole Miss, Jake? Besides the first thing is to put on your puffer vest.
Right. I mean, that's a prerequisite of any good, person doing a job. But I mean, I would be overly positive with Lane Kiffin. I would say, look, like, obviously, Lane, you're aware of our situation as Ole Miss. Like, obviously, you understand that with the portal looming timeline wise, and with what it takes to win in college football, we would really appreciate if we could get this figured out. We would love to retain you. We don't want to have to worry about who we're going to hire. That's not what we want. We would rather pay you and continue the success in Oxford. At the same time, though, if you're going to take the LSU job, or if you're going to take the Florida job, let's get on with it. Just tell us, hey, like, this is what they're paying me. This is what the job is. This is what the opportunity is. Are you guys interested in matching that or not? And I would be operating from a place, if I was Ole Miss, of, hey man, like, love and respect, really appreciate everything you've done for us. Let's just find that finish line, right? Like, let's just together get to a place where we're fully transparent and honest. And that way we don't leave this, whole conundrum in a bad spot. There really should not be any like ill will between Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. What it should be is, hey, like, let's just be fully transparent with each other, which is why I think you're seeing Lane and the AD doing yoga together today, allegedly.
Allegedly.
That's why I think you're seeing Lane and, officials at Ole Miss, spending time together and doing things together even still, because I think Lane also takes that seriously. And I'm a big believer that going through this process as the candidate your reputation is on the line here. How you handle this and how transparent you are and how you treat people is absolutely going to define your career. I mean, look what everyone said about Brian Kelly. Oh, well, Brian Kelly was an asshole. People didn't like him. Like he didn't treat people well. All right. Well, if you're Lane Kiffin, you've overcome a lot of stuff in your personal life to get to this point. Like, let's just keep it positive and keep it rolling. And that's why I say, like, I just don't think that this is going to be a conversation when the Egg Bowl rolls around. I think that everybody involved will be on the same page and will know what's going to happen. And maybe it gets announced publicly. I don't know. But I'm just telling you, this whole concept of like Lane is hiding stuff and, Ole Miss is annoyed with Lane and they're upset and there's that's just not, in my opinion, the environment between these two. I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it happens. I really do. And I think Ole Miss fan is going to be out for blood on this one. Let's see. Holding Pat McAfee to a journalistic standard seems like a fool's errand. Well, you're probably right about that. And I know you've said this 100 times. I think I just expect him to do a good job, and he's never going to do a good job. He just is. Pat is not a guy that you can put a bar up against and say, okay, meet this bar every day. He's not going to do it. How do you have Lane Kiffin on and not ask the question?
Yeah, I think that
I'll never understand it.
Yeah, Pat has proven himself to be a guy that just wants to be a facilitator. That's it. He's not interested in doing compelling interviews. That's not his role. That's not what he wants. He's not interested in it. If he was interested in it, he'd ask follow-up questions, but he doesn't. And that's not unique to Lane Kiffin. And, I think that Pat McAfee, has the bandwidth and the opportunity to do better content as far as like the depth of the questions and like, where he takes an interview. But
yep.
I genuinely don't think he's interested in that. I think what he's interested in is just purely getting the big name on via ESPN so then he can get the views and make the money, which again, if that's the case, cool, dude, knock yourself out. Like, I'm not even saying that that's wrong. I'm not even saying that Pat is some scumbag for that. I'm not saying that. What
scumbag.
What I'm saying is that it's just funny to me that some of us in the industry understand the responsibility of like, hey, Lane Kiffin's coming on your show, bro. Like, given the storylines of the day, like these are the obvious questions we should be asking, you know? And again, like it's just not for me. And this is why I say, and no, D-Rock, I've seen you comment this like 50 times today. The questions were not pre-agreed upon before the interview. I can promise you that.
No,
they were not. The only thing that was pre-agreed upon before the interview was, hey, I want to come on because I want to squash the ultimatum piece. That's it. It's a text. That's it. Lane reaches out to reps reach out to Pat puts the guy on. That's how the process works. It's not rocket science. And it's not a long-winded thing. It's not like an hour-long boardroom meeting where they figure out what they're going to talk about.
Yeah. Monkey. They don't even ask Lane about the facilities at LSU. I know the CNS seating. We have to know. It's TCU James, Pat is just being the same Pat he's always been, and you getting mad because he's not being someone different. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, but
that's right.
But while that is right, at the same time though, dude, like does that problem not get worse when it's guys like Lane Kiffin on?
Oh,
like,
it does.
Okay, you don't want to do with Aaron Rodgers. I get it. Okay, he's your boy. It's wrong of us to criticize, but dude, it's Lane Kiffin in the heat of the thing. Come on, dude.
I can tell you, I was texting with like 3-4 dudes during that interview, and we were all sitting there. He's really not going to ask about LSU. Got to ask the plain question. Like Marcus, our guy Marcus, at least make a joke about the plane being nice. Right? Was the inside, like, just make a joke about the plane. Didn't even do that. And worse yet, is then having a player on and no follow-up to the ultimatum. Nothing like we're sitting there trying to talk about it like, well, hey, what was the conversation like? How did it? Nothing. Chewy for $5. Chewy, good to see you. You didn't get Shota Imanaga. Ha-ho! Unfortunately, we did. Did you guys see these $20 million to stay with the Cubs? It doesn't surprise me that Florida has a private jet. Penn State has a private jet. They got it from the Epstein estate. I've heard that. But the Epstein, okay. H-Town King 1 for $5. H-Town! If Kiffin leaves, who is the next coach at Ole Miss? Thoughts on who they look at? John Summerall, Will Stein? I think that's a really tough. You know, and just texting with a bunch of dudes about it, I think it's awfully difficult to get an unproven coordinator. And I think it is really tough to go from Lane Kiffin to Will Stein, Garrett Riley. I think that's really, really difficult. I think if you're Ole Miss, it's got like your first phone call's got to be to Eli Drinkwitz, I would think. He's the best. I think he's the best candidate outside, right? I mean, I think John Summerall's getting the Auburn job. I think if you look at, I don't know, do you stay in-house? Is a Pete Golding, that probably doesn't excite anybody. I mean, and their defense is freaking phenomenal. But I think you got to go home run outside of the program. I think you have got to, you've probably got to do the Eli Drinkwitz thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you go from Lane Kiffin to John Summerall? That doesn't seem like a hire that's going to ignite the fan base.
Not really.
Not in my mind, anyway. You know, I mean, it is. I think Ole Miss. You know, if you look at the open jobs, I think Ole Miss would be in a different situation than the pedophiles, right? Like, you're out of options at Pedo State, right? I mean, you're trying to get knuckle deep on guys that. I mean, Penn State's probably going to a coordinator, I would think. I mean, it is, I think if we play the what if game, Lane goes to LSU, Ole Miss or Penn State. I think that's a lot closer. That's a lot closer than people think. I mean, Ole Miss doesn't have a proven history of sexual assault in their football offices. I mean, so I think you know,
it's not the best situation, and we all know that.
And stuff. I hate Penn State so much. I think Penn State's probably a coordinator job. I think it's probably a better job than Ole Miss. The problem is I think it's a much more difficult job to recruit there. And I think, you know, this Sam Levitt story today is very interesting because I know everybody keeps telling me that, oh, Kenny's not leaving, bro.
Dilly.
I hear you. I hear you. But the problem is Sam Levitt's probably getting in the portal. Sam Levitt, who I think, what does he have? A broken foot? He's out for the year. His brother is a complete cock. Like he is, his brother's name is Dallin Levitt. And those of you that are at all related to Utah football know that Dallin Levitt is a douche. And that's a drop, Jake. And he played at BYU and then got red-assed out to Utah State. And now he is an agent at CAA, and he's Sam Levitt's agent. And Dallin Levitt put on Instagram the Pete Nakos text conversation, and said, y'all are a joke. Address this before Pete released the news, which is to say that Dallin Levitt told Pete Nakos, hey, that's premature. We're not there yet. Like, we haven't made the decision to get in the portal. If Sam Levitt's leaving Kenny Dillingham, where's Kenny Dillingham going? Because if you're Sam Levitt, why would you leave Arizona State? You're the starting quarterback at a P4 university where you went to the college football playoff already. Like, that move doesn't, oh, your coach is leaving. Now I get it. So I do think there's more germination of consternation.
Excellent strategy, sir.
You know,
And stuff.
and like I think that's a real conversation. That is a real conversation.
I mean, Kenny is definitely a candidate to, get a bigger job.
Yes,
he's definitely.
Yes, Boyd. Dallin Levitt is such a jerk off, dude. Like, he is not. Anyway, yeah, how good of a candidate is Kenny Dillingham for any of these jobs?
Oh, I think he's a really good candidate. I mean, I think, if I'm Kenny, I'm, Happy Ending Valley is definitely not option number one. I think option number one
is Florida
for Kenny,
option number one.
Well, if Florida wants to, yeah. But I would view Florida State as option number one if I'm Kenny. That's where I would want to go, is Florida State. I think
Florida, he's a great fit at Florida State. I mean,
yeah.
Well, and TJ Beck, I think that's the inference, isn't it? If Dillingham leaves, I think it's Florida State, right? Yeah, no kidding, Boyd. And this was always my point about Arizona State. Who is Sam Levitt as a quarterback? Is he good enough to make Jordan Tyson type receivers, or does he need Jordan Tyson type receivers to get to his top level? I don't think we know that, because he's taken some abuse this year and he really hasn't been healthy.
No.
So I think it's going to be interesting, right? Dillingham, FSU, many others. I agree. The Monkey says Penn State should hire Lou Holtz. I hope they've already made the call. The nose is not cooperating today.
No.
The coronavirus
noticed. And
tis the season.
Brutal. Dilly isn't going anywhere. ASU is literally home for him. Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't be convinced. It hasn't felt like he isn't going anywhere right up until his starting quarterback, who has zero reason to leave ASU, gets in the portal. Who's recruiting him? Who's recruiting Sam Levitt?
Excuse me, the nomenclature is pre-portaling.
Yeah, who's pre-portaling Sam Levitt? Right? Like, we'll see. I think the Big 12, I think there is a real, and I'm not trying to cause panic, I think there's a real chance the Big 12 is going to get absolutely looted. Utah's got two starting quarterbacks, Sam Levitt, Kenny Dillingham. I think you look at Matt Campbell at Iowa State, who I've talked a lot about leaving already because I've heard his name connected to a lot of jobs. I mean, the coaches in this league, because you got to figure 8-ball Koresh down at Baylor's out. You got to think Spike Dykes' kid is out. Oklahoma Crap State is already open. Like, this conference is going to see a massive change. And when Haas Henschel leaves Oak State, we'll do a wellness check on James.
James, you
How
still
awesome
gonna be
would
talking
that
about
be?
facilities, bro? If Haas leaves, bro.
Oh
Come
my
on.
God, how awesome would that be? Good Lord. BK joining Glory Hole University. Okay. Bryce Martin, another name for the Arkansas job is Matt Campbell. Well, I'm telling you, he's going to be a name for a lot of them. West Virginia Buckeye. Hey, boy. Dumpster fire in Happy Valley certainly is. Certainly is. Penn State is better than LSU as long as the governor is in office down there in that bayou, boy. I don't know. I think LSU is a phenomenal job. I think LSU is I just think Penn State, beyond being a criminal enterprise and just zero moral compass or ethics. Well, welcome to the Big Ten. I think that Penn State's not the recruiting pleasure. I mean, when you have average ass Aller as your starting quarterback, it speaks volumes.
Yep.
Right? When you look at, I mean, if we take pedophilia out of the conversation at Penn State, which would require them to take out, never mind. The point is, if we're honest about Penn State, it's a good job. It's not a great job. And you're seeing that LSU is flying Lane Kiffin's family on private jets to come tour the campus in the city of Baton Rouge. Matt Rule signed an extension at Nebraska. Huh. Okay. Tough sledding there. James Franklin. Yeah, nobody wants him. Oh wait, that's right. He got hired at Vodtech.
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Kind of a tough road to hoe.
What about the mullet, bro? Why don't you just hire the mullet? I mean, that's, isn't that option?
But you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're in the job market, we're already hearing Arkansas is reaching out, paying this, offering that. What's Penn State doing? Doesn't seem like they're doing much. Doesn't seem like we've heard rumors about, hey. Wait, Penn State has a lot of pretty girls enrolled. No, people at Penn State like little boys, not girls.
That's not what we're about.
Wow, what are we doing? My phone is blowing up.
What do you mean?
Okay. No, not gonna. No. See, Marcus, I am not going to play your stupid little game today. Okay. Marcus would like me. So Marcus, the TV executive, is a graduate of Michigan State, which is why he never talks about his football program, because they don't have one. You remember they used to have a football team in East Lansing. They do not anymore.
Yeah, that was before that whole iPhone incident happened in the car with Buddy. That whole thing.
But he would like me to be. He would like me to continue beating the Penn State pedo drum because it takes his mind off of how terrible Michigan State football is.
We keeping a book right now.
So,
we ass.
Marcus has a man crush on Jake. He did mention, and I didn't read this as well, that the black on black is a good look for Jake.
Well, I tried to simplify it for you. I don't want you to get too distracted,
GJ Ginn to Oklahoma State or Baylor. Okay. What's the best available job?
Florida.
I feel like this is a daily conversation. I think it's LSU. And LSU's showing you why. I mean, they are, if you look at what LSU is doing to get Lane Kiffin, are they leaving any doubt that they are, without a doubt, Lane Kiffin's their number one candidate? Private jets, tours for the family, talking money with your agent. Have they left any doubt that Brian Kelly was a dick? They really haven't, right? They really haven't. They are all in on hiring Lane Kiffin. And I think they're doing exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, I also think there's an argument to be made that they're going all in to overcome their BS. You know, like I think that they don't have a choice but to be, full aggressive, go after him mode. You can't
Yeah.
afford, to be second fiddle to Florida or anybody else in this process going after Lane with what your governor did and just how unorganized and chaotic you looked. So, yeah. Is he their number one candidate? Of course. But I also think that there's some of this where it's like, hey, we can't afford to mess around. We if we're gonna get this guy, we got to go in, swinging a huge offer, and we got to be aggressive with it. We got to send our jet to him. We gotta have a full recruiting pitch rolled out here. Everybody needs to be involved, the whole 9 yards, everything from the local car dealer owner to your program's local real estate donor to the local bar barbecue, like all of it, dude. I just get everybody involved. That's what they have to do. But I think that Florida, if they play their hand right here, would allow LSU to do all of that and then come in behind them with a better offer. And say, listen, bro, we're following up after your little extravaganza at LSU with a more organized offer in a program that doesn't have to worry about the governor.
Yeah.
So that's how I played if I was Florida.
I think you are completely wrong. You can't wait and react. You have to be proactive. And I think LSU even more because of what's gone on with their governor. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that they've been damaged. What is Oak State ranked now in best jobs? I think it's one of the least attractive jobs. And I think if TCU and Baylor open up, I think it is the least attractive job in the conference. Truly. I think it's the least attractive. Gooby, quick to forget about Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. Yeah, he was a dude, wasn't he? But I think when we look at, that Jonathan Smith's a good football coach. I believe he is an excellent football coach. It's tough to win at Michigan State. You're not ever going to get the best talent. And I think it's Arizona, which is why what's going on in Arizona is so wildly impressive, because I think it's really tough to get dudes to go to Tucson. And it's really tough to get dudes to go to East Lansing instead of Ann Arbor or Columbus. You have so much competition within driving distance. You're fighting Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Cincinnati. Like regionally, you're just getting your ass kicked routinely.
Central Michigan and sign stealer guy,
Sure, these dudes don't care about home, better conference, more money comes calling, they are all ears. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. It's just like any of us with a normal job. I totally agree with that. I think if Jonathan Smith could do it all over again when he leave Oregon State, he probably would because of the G5 situation, the unknown, the lack of resources, right? And I think Jonathan Smith, to Gooby's point, I think Jonathan Smith's a good coach who made a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
I do. So it'll be interesting. Jake, give us a top 10 job list, please. Boy, that's tough.
Yeah, I don't know that there's 10 on the list.
Are there 10 good jobs?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think if we want to word it as like, all right, by the time it's all said and done, what jobs open? I think that's a conversation we could have just projecting. But I mean, my order right now would be Florida, LSU, Florida State, Penn State. I would then look at, obviously, assuming Lane leaves, I would have Ole Miss. Then I'd have Auburn. And then, at that point, maybe the Big 12 starts cracking the list a little bit. But I think all of those are probably ahead of a Big 12 job at this time.
That's tough, dude. I mean, if we look at what the best jobs available are, LSU's number one. I think Penn State or Florida is really interesting. I mean, you're both billion-dollar programs. I think that's close. And then I think Auburn, Arkansas is very interesting. I don't think you're going to win necessarily at Auburn more than you'll win at Arkansas. You have more resources, better facilities, better money. Auburn's a much more valuable brand, but they seem to not be able to win. And then I get into like UCLA versus Oak State. I think UCLA is a significantly better job than Oak State.
By a mile. Are people really comparing those?
Yeah. I think they are like Oak State or now Stanford's tough. Oak State or like Oak State or Vodtech. Probably taking Vodtech. Right? You're probably because of the money that they've injected into that program. Oak State or Stanford. Andrew Luck's your general manager at Stanford, right? I mean,
educational requirements, though. That's something to be considered.
Well, and you can get DUIs and not be punished for it at Oak State, right? But I think Oak State's not nearly as valuable as a brand as Stanford, right? Like I think that's a huge issue. I think Oklahoma State's one of the worst jobs in the country. I'm not even being a red ass about it. I'm not even joking because James is who he is. But I think that's really tough. I mean, there's some G5 jobs open. Like if you look at what's a lower level job that's open? UAB, Oak State. Colorado State, Oak State. Oregon State or Oak State?
Oak State. Big 12 is in a better position.
Yeah, you have access. But I don't think it's clear, right? Like if I look at, again, Vodtech or Oak State. I think it's probably Oak State, but I don't think that's by a lot. I mean, because the problem at Vodtech is they don't spend money. And they say they're going to spend money.
Well, if you're going to hire James Franklin, you damn well better spend money, dude. I mean, you don't hire James Franklin to not spend money, dude.
Yeah. Dan Mullen has to be an attractive coach for many of these schools. Who was talking about Dan Mullen? I think it's too soon for Dan Mullen to leave UNLV. Can you imagine him leaving after 1 year?
If there's a big job open. Yeah.
Nah,
not his wife wants to get handsy in the SEC again, or in the ACC,
D-Rock says Florida State's greater than Penn State, which is greater than Auburn, which is greater than Arkansas, which is greater than UCLA, which is greater than Stanford, which is greater than Oak State. Stanford or UCLA? UCLA. UCLA or Arkansas?
UCLA.
I would agree. I think Florida, Penn State, Auburn, sure. I think I would put on that list, Florida, Penn State, or Auburn.
Auburn.
Ooh, that's tough. Much better access to talent at Auburn. Yeah.
An easier recruit, bro.
All right. Florida, Auburn, Penn State, UCLA, Arkansas, Stanford, Oak State. I don't hate that. Oak State has nothing going for it right now. No talent, money, no facilities, and moderate expectations to win. Totally agree. Douglas, are we saying the parking lot security guard could be Oak State's next head coach? I believe that's true.
I mean, potentially, dude.
So don't even think about messing with me.
UCLA dog walks the Oak State job. He said dog walks. On multiple levels, even without a home stadium, Oak State or Cal. See, and I know nobody gives a rat's ass about Cal. You guys, nobody. I'm telling you, when they win, it's a really good job. You have a beautiful stadium. You have a lot of weed. Like it's a lot of weed. It could clear up my sinuses. It's okay, because it's in the Bay Area. See, so it's okay.
That's every day.